You don't say anything. Not because you don't know English, but because your mind freezes. Someone asks you a simple question. Your heart starts beating faster. And suddenly, all the words you thought you knew disappear. You know the answer, but by the time you translate it in your head, the moment is gone, and someone else is already speaking. Let me tell you a story, because maybe this is your story too. It was a normal Tuesday morning. Brian sat at his desk, staring at his laptop. Emails, deadlines, meetings, just another day at work. But today felt different. There was a team meeting, and not just any meeting. His boss had said, "Brian, I'd like you to share your thoughts today." That sentence kept repeating in his mind. Share your thoughts, share your thoughts. It sounded simple. But for Brian, it felt like pressure building inside his chest. The meeting started. People joined, cameras turned on. Small talk filled the silence. "Good morning. How's everyone doing?" Brian smiled, nodded, but said nothing. He was already thinking too much. What if I make a mistake? What if I say the wrong word? What if they notice my accent? Then it happened. His boss looked directly at him and said, "Brian, what do you think about the new plan?" And just like that, silence. Brian's mind went completely blank. Not because he didn't understand the question, but because he was trying to be perfect. He was thinking in his first language, translating into English, checking grammar, correcting vocabulary, building the perfect sentence in his head. But real life doesn't wait for perfect sentences. Real life moves fast. Before he could speak, someone else jumped in. "I think it's a great idea. We can improve the timeline." The conversation moved on. Brian nodded quietly. Again, silent. That evening, he sat alone, staring at his phone, replaying the moment again and again. Frustrated, not with English, but with himself. Because deep down, he knew something. I can speak, but I don't react. And that's the real problem. Not English, reaction. The next morning, something shifted. Not outside, inside. Brian made one simple decision. I will stop trying to be perfect. I will start reacting. A few days later, he found himself in a small cafe. The waiter came over and asked, "Would you like anything else?" Normally, Brian would panic. His brain would start asking questions. Should I say I want or I would like? Is this polite enough? Is my grammar correct? But this time, he didn't give himself time to overthink. He just reacted. "Yeah, just a coffee, please." Simple, natural, done. And nothing bad happened. That's when he realized his first lesson. Real English is not about long, perfect sentences. It's about short, quick responses. It's not, "I would like to request for a cup of coffee." It's just a coffee, please. A few days later, another moment came. At work, a colleague walked up to him and asked, "Hey, did you finish the report?" Brian felt the pressure again, that familiar tight feeling in his chest. But this time, he didn't wait. He didn't translate. He didn't try to sound perfect. He used a simple pattern, honest and direct. "Not yet. I'm still working on it." That was it. long explanation. No complicated grammar, just real communication. And something surprising happened. The conversation continued normally. No one laughed. No one corrected him. No one cared about perfection. Because here's the truth. People are not waiting for your perfect English. They are waiting for your response. That realization changed everything. Brian started training himself every single day. He created a simple rule: respond in 3 seconds, not 10 seconds, not after thinking deeply, just 3 seconds. Fast, simple, real. Someone asked, "How was your day?" He answered immediately, "Pretty good. Busy, but okay." Someone asked, "Do you agree?" He said, "Yeah, I think so, or sometimes. Not really. I see it differently." These small, simple responses became his tools. They're called reaction phrases, and they are powerful. Because when you already have these phrases ready, your brain doesn't need to translate anymore. It just responds. Think about it. If someone says, "That's a good idea," you don't need to build a sentence from zero. You just say, "Thanks, I appreciate it." If someone asks, "Can you help me?" you don't freeze. You say, "Sure, no problem," or "Give me a minute." If someone disagrees with you, you don't panic. You say, "I see your point, but I think." Simple phrases, real reactions. And slowly, something began to change inside Brian. The fear didn't disappear completely, but it became smaller. His confidence became stronger. Not because his English suddenly became perfect, but because he stopped waiting to be perfect before speaking. 1 month later, he found himself in the same meeting room, same team, same boss, same situation. But this time, something was different. "Brian, what do you think?" his boss asked again. This time, Brian didn't pause. He didn't overthink. He didn't translate. He just spoke. "I think it's a good plan, but we might need more time." For a moment, the room was quiet. But it wasn't the awkward silence from before. It was the kind of silence where people are actually listening. His boss nodded. "Good point." Another colleague added, "Yeah, I agree." And just like that, Brian was no longer invisible in conversations. He was part of them. That's the transformation. From thinking too much to reacting naturally. From silence to participation. From fear to flow. But here's something important you need to understand. Brian still made mistakes. Sometimes he used the wrong word. Sometimes his grammar wasn't perfect. But it didn't stop him anymore. Because communication was happening. People understood him. Conversations moved forward. And that's your real goal. Not perfection, connection. So how can you start? Start small. Tomorrow, in any conversation, focus on speed, not perfection. Give yourself 3 seconds to respond. Answer quickly, even if it's simple, even if it's not perfect. Because confidence doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from speaking more. And remember this, people who sound fluent are not thinking faster than you. They are thinking less. They trust simple English. They trust their voice. And most importantly, they allow themselves to speak without fear of being imperfect. So the next time someone asks you something, don't wait. Don't translate. Don't overthink. Just react. Because your English is already inside you. You just need to let it out. English is not about perfection. It's about expression. If you want real-life English, subscribe for more, because the next video might be exactly what you need.